So what is media literacy?
Media literacy is recognizing bias in media, determining credibility, and discerning false or misleading info, also known as fake news.
Why do we learn media literacy?
Lots of reasons. It helps you think critically, get accurate information to form your own opinions off, improve public health, consume products and info more accurately, create media responsibly, and understand different perspectives.
And how do we practice it?
I'm glad you asked. Let's get into it. Here we have 3 articles about Trump's early response to the coronavirus pandemic. However, each says very different things. The first characterizes his actions as decisive, the second as a failure, and the third says he said something and then went back on his word later. How do we know what's true?
First, you need to ask who created this message and why is it important. Our first article was created by Donald Trump's website. The second one was by the New York Times, which was a left-leaning source. And the third one was by PolitiFact, which is generally considered a credible source with no bias.
So another question to ask is, will this media help someone make money, and is it politically or socially implicated in an issue? So the first source is by Trump, and Trump is trying to get reelected for the next presidency. So this means that the site may overly praise him in order to help with his campaign. The second source is by New York Times, which, as we mentioned, is a left-leaning source, and so they are fighting against Donald Trump's re-election, so they may overly criticize him in order to stop his re-election. However, the third source, PolitiFact, is unbiased and is not fighting one way or another for Donald Trump's re-election, so it should generally be trusted as credible. However, more fact-checking should always be done.
We recommend checking other credible sources and websites to make sure that you compare the facts and have the right information. So in general, you need to be aware of the source, the writer, the way they're speaking, what they have to gain, and the people they're quoting. You need to understand their viewpoint, what they're trying to accomplish, and look at other viewpoints in order to make sure you get the right message and filter what is correct. Here's a way to tell which political direction some sources lean. Try to use middle to top sources. If you read left or right sources, make sure to consider their biases.
Web literacy is media literacy, but specifically related to digital technology such as websites. So first, make sure to read the URL closely. Look at the domain. Is it trustworthy? Typically, edu or government sites are trustworthy, but you should also check and make sure that they are not personal pages.
The presence of a tilde, which is that squiggly thing right there, can often indicate a personal site, which can discredit credible sources, such as this right here, which is a northwestern.edu site, but it claims that the Holocaust didn't happen.
You can look at the history of a website to tell if it used to be biased. The Wayback Machine can help you do this. So you type in the URL of a website, then you click Browse History, and it will load, and then you can look at the calendar. Let's go to 2007, and then you can look at the dates it was changed and see the snapshots of what the website looked like, and see what the website looked like on that date. So this is it. So if you were to look more in depth at this website, you would find out that it actually is not supportive of Martin Luther King Jr., and so that is why it is not a credible source. Some other questions that you might want to ask include, what creative techniques are used to attract my attention? How might different people understand this message differently than me? What lifestyle perspectives or other considerations are omitted from or included in this message, and why is this message being sent?
Use these tips when analyzing news to be more media savvy in our growing technological age.